All right, I'm going to get it right this time. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different this session. I need to advance through. Sorry, I'm back at the beginning. Hold on. Oh, there's my beloved family. Okay. What we need you guys to do is grab a couple of these. I think every table has one of these. Tear it up. Tear a couple of them up into enough pieces so everybody has two 2-inch size pieces of paper. Give everybody at your table a couple pieces of paper. Because I'm going to spend less than half of our time talking initially, and then we're going to vote on a couple things, and then what we land on is what we'll spend the rest of our time talking about. That way we'll talk about stuff that you guys want to talk about and not stuff that I think is important for this next little bit. Like I mentioned before, been doing this for a long time, and what I want to do is talk about probably, I think I wrote down 25 of the things that I've learned in 25 plus years of youth ministry, many of which have very little to do with youth ministry. They're just church survival tactics and things like that. So what I want to do is after 25 years and at my age, I kind of think of myself a little bit like that guy. That's how I see myself in this role. You see me a little bit more like that guy. But either way, oh, there's an Ed joke in there somewhere waiting to come out. Ed on the... It takes Ed a while to put his face on, apparently, is what we're... Sorry. I just can't pass up on that. I'll go back to that. What I want to do is you have the list in front of you on your handouts. I'm going to go through here and I'm going to spend less than a minute, 30 seconds, 45 seconds on each one. Put an asterisk next to the one that pops out to you, next to the two that pop out to you, and write that number on your sheet of paper. We will take a literal 2-minute stretch break, just long enough, or Ed can do announcements or whatever. And in those 2 minutes, a couple of us will quickly tally up the votes, and then we'll come back and I'll camp out on the top 2 or 3 vote getters that you guys that seem to resonate with you guys. Couple things I've learned in 25 plus years of youth ministry. One thing I've learned is that every church has unwritten rules. There's what they tell you about in your interview, there's what's on your job description, and then there's church culture and unwritten expectations and unwritten rules that I have found more often than not, people struggle at church as employees, not because they don't do the written stuff properly, but because they don't understand church culture and the unwritten rules. Or they understand it and they just decide not to pay attention to it. We can talk about that. Number 2, it's a chips game. When you run out of chips, you are in deep trouble. As a pastor, as a leader, as an employee, we can talk about that. Attach myself to somebody who's a few steps ahead. My wife and I, it seems like every step of the way, God has brought people in our lives who are just a little bit further along. A little bit older, a little bit wiser. Their kids are a little bit older. Their kids are a little bit wiser. We have found it invaluable to always make sure we're attached to somebody who's a few steps ahead. We've learned that the grass is greener where I water it. The grass is always greener where you water it. And the comparison game will kill you. You lose every time you compare. Every time you compare, you lose. You either don't measure up or you're arrogant when you look at it. Right? You either don't measure up or you're arrogant when you compare. And us youth pastors love to compare. I've learned that eventually the squeaky wheel gets replaced. We can talk about that. We talked about this for a few minutes at the table during brunch, which, by the way, was delicious. That ham. Oh, my gosh. I love ham. Especially the real kind of ham. It's not like been sliced and brought. Anyway, number 6.2. Kurt loves ham. But number 6, I'm a gym teacher. We really want badly to be highly respected and to be viewed at the same level and in the same, equals with the other ministries, and we work so hard to gain their respect and to be professional, which is all important. But I've also realized after 26 years, at the end of the day, I'm kind of the gym teacher of the church world, and I've just determined I'm going to be the best gym teacher I can be. And we can talk about that. How a subtopic there would be how to be secure in your calling is kind of the subtopic there. The power of nice, or don't be a tool. I believe nice guys and nice gals finish first. Maybe not in the immediate, but over the long haul, nice people finish first. I think there's biblical principles wrapped up in that and just some common sense stuff. My teenagers will tell you all the time, all Dad ever talks about is the power of nice, the power of nice, the power of nice. Everywhere we go, I'm okay, guys, check this out. You're going to see the power of nice in action right here. Here it goes. Ready? And I'll be nice to somebody. And every once in a while it works. Most of the time it doesn't. Power of nice doesn't work. But again, not always in the immediate, but over the long haul. Number 8, just a real basic youth ministry principle that has a ton of ramifications. Always leave them wanting more. Always leave them wanting more. In your lessons, in your games, in your programming, even in your challenging of them. Leave them wanting more. Tonight's not the last night you're going to have those students in front of you. It's not the last summer camp you're ever going to have. Always leave them wanting more. Number 9, my kids did not pick this way of life. Something I have learned over the years is they didn't ask to be born into a pastor's family. They didn't ask to be born into this particular pastor's family. It's not on them. It's not on them. And my wife and I have been really strategic in a couple areas that reflect that truth that has worked for us, I think, for the most part. Number 10, balance is a myth. If you're pursuing balance and you're pursuing margin, you've bought into a lie from the pit of hell. But it's a myth. 11, leadership is liquid. I love John Maxwell, I worked with him. I don't believe there are 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Why not 20? Because his publisher said you need 3 more pages? I don't know. But, why not 22? 21 irrefutable, like they can never be refuted? They're perfect. I think leadership is liquid. And our job as a leader is to assess the situation, and we adjust our leadership, and we adjust I've got some things, I don't have 21. I've got some things that I would say this is what marks my leadership. But overall, my leadership is very fluid and very liquid, and it needs to be to be effective. We can talk about that. Number 12, don't miss out on what's now because of what might be next. Man, take that one to the bank. Whether it's your family life, whether it's personal stuff, ministry, we love to think and worry and hope for what's next so much that we miss out on what's now. Number 13, it all starts with fun. 14, it's about them, not me. Too many youth pastors teach what God's been putting on their heart lately, and I hope God's been putting something different and doing a different work in your heart than what he wants to do in the hearts of 14-year-olds. And it's not about what you want to teach. It's about what junior high and high school kids need to hear for their age level and their journey. And it's not about what games you want to do. Or I hear people say, "Oh, our kids don't like games anymore." Well, you don't like games anymore. Therefore, your kids don't like. It's not about you. It's not about you. We can talk about that. 15. Sometimes a senior pastor not thinking about me is a good thing. Sometimes the pastor, how many of us go, man, the pastor they forgot I exist. Sometimes that's a really good thing. To be off the radar, there's some real big benefits to that. We can talk about the pros and cons and how do I get on the radar, how do I get off the radar if I'm too much on the radar. We can talk about that. Number 16, strategize, baby. We're putting a strong emphasis on relationship. I spend a lot of time talking about it, but you do need to have a strategy. I don't think just organic youth ministry, just do whatever the Holy Spirit leads you to do. I don't think that's wise. And it's not being a good steward of the flock that God's entrusted you with. There is a place, and an important place, for a level of strategic thinking. This, I was saying during the break, this does two things. It tells me where we're trying to go. It gives us the target. And it answers all sorts of questions because everybody comes to the table with their agendas. Every parent, every elder, they come to the table with their agenda. And what this does is it lets me make an agenda not a personal. So when I say no to that idea, it's not personal. It has to do with our strategy. So why don't we do puppets? Whatever, right? Okay, I'll figure out a reason that has to do with our strategy. I'll blame the strategy. It's not a stupid idea to do puppets. It just doesn't fit our strategy, right? And so there's lots of reasons. We can talk more about strategy than we already have. It's about people, not programs. Kind of ties into the theme. Less is usually more, which ties in with always leave them wanting more, but there's some nuances there. Put people in a box, then expand the box. It's my own leadership development strategy. Is you put people in a box, and then you expand the box. And we can talk about that if you'd like. Number 20, numbers matter. Maybe it should be number 1, if we're just going to be honest. We wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't. But numbers matter. They're the written or unwritten rule in most churches. Parents matter a lot. We can talk more about the parent strategy and ministry to parents, and we can share ideas if you guys would like to do that. Something else I've learned over the years is to neglect my weaknesses. It's not a lazy principle, it's a strategic, it's a leveraging what God's given you principle, and it forces you to empower other people in their kingdom giftedness. To neglect your weaknesses. Number 23, I've learned this the hard way. I've learned it through observation of other people, but I can fake it. I can fake it. After 26 years in youth ministry, I can do it like today, winging it. I can get up and teach a great junior high lesson this weekend without praying or being in the Word that week. My wife and I can put on a smiley face and go to church and be pissed or hurt at each other. We can fake it. I've seen it and I've learned it, and I can get away with it for quite a long time. And we can talk more about that. And then 24, the pendulum always swings back. The pendulum always swings back. It's kind of a good leadership principle to keep yourself from being an anxious, reactionary leader, is when you recognize that the pendulum always swings back. And we can talk about some examples of that and what to do in the meantime, because it doesn't always swing right back. And it's the waiting for it to swing back that gets us nervous and afraid. And then 25, there will always be somebody unhappy with me. Always. Doesn't matter if your youth group has 4 kids or 400 kids, somebody's ticked. A parent's ticked, they're frustrated, they don't like this decision, they don't like that decision. Our high school camp, we got jacked over a couple months ago. We last year, our high school camp has been growing, and last year we went to Grand Canyon University, which was about a 6-hour drive. But the organization that we do our summer camp with told us it was worth it, and it was unbelievable. It was awesome. Room to grow, room to grow, room to grow. About 3 weeks ago, Grand Canyon decided to build a soccer stadium this summer, and they completely cleared their summer calendar of every outside organization that had anything scheduled, including our week-long high school summer camp, which we already, summer camp's not till the end of July. We already had like 400 kids signed up for summer camp. And they said, you're off. Well, there's no place else we can go with this late notice that can handle the number. And so what we had to do is we had to go back to where we came from, which can only handle about 50%. We grew almost 50% when we went to Grand Canyon. When we finally took the cork out of the bottle, and now we have to put the cork back in for summer, which obviously we had all kinds of people super ticked off because camp was already almost sold out in February. Right? We got ticked off staff because they just assume, how pastors' kids, right? And they say, oh, there'll be a spot for me. Sorry, Pastor Warren. No, it's not. But, people are ticked. Somebody's always ticked. Well, then we decided, you know what? We're just going to suck it up. Where we go to camp, they just coincidentally, miraculously, I don't think it's a coincidence, they had the next week open. So we said, we'll take 2 weeks. And we'll just do back-to-back so we can get everybody to camp. It's just going to be one of those weird years, the weird, funky year. Well, then we had people ticked off at us who had signed up for the first week because now their friend who wasn't going to get into camp, they can only go to week 2. And now people are ticked, and we're just trying to make it so everybody can go to camp. It's like, man, we can't win for losing. No matter what we do, people are ticked off. And you know it, and I know it. What do you do in that? How do you navigate that? Is a very interesting thing. That was quicker than I thought, but I thought we could maybe land on 3 or 4 that we want to talk about. Here's what you get to do. On your little piece of paper, just write the number next to the one you want to unpack. We'll all talk about it. You'll talk about it around your table. Just pick a number of 2 of them that you would like to talk more. If you're passionate about it, here's what you get to do. Vote twice for the same one. If you're passionate about one, you can vote twice for the same one. We've got a political action committee over here for number 4. They're lobbying for that. I'm not sure you're not giving away free lunch. Okay. So go ahead and do that real quick. And when you write your 2, this is what you can do. Just come drop them right here and start your break.